So here we are, it's another one of those little Cade Sport previews. This is the Cade Fondo course, and I arrived 2 minutes after the race started, as you can see by the little message at the top of the screen there, under the Cade Fondo course narrative. Now I've put on a few little pointers for you if you're new to Cade. These are in pink, so starting at the top left it shows you where the map is. Underneath there is the profile, and you can see the blobs on there are the riders with the yellow one, the blue ones are others. Underneath that it tells you how many laps you've done. We're only doing one lap. It's 20 kilometres long. You can see that we've done 0.2, that's 200 metres so far, 19.7 to go as we go past some silhouetted riders. Silhouetted riders are either not in the game, have stopped, or maybe on another lap, although it's unlikely in this scenario because I've only just started, albeit 2 minutes behind everybody else. A little bit of example there. If you press B, you can look backwards. You can see nobody's behind me. I started late. But on the other hand, if you look at the top right hand corner, you can see the positions. There is somebody 13 seconds behind me. I suspect that's the stationary riders who are silhouetted. So you can see I'm 40th out of 44 riders at the moment. If you look at that top right hand corner, my name is in yellow, so I've got a lot of catching up to do for everybody else. I've labelled that position underneath the chart. Below that is the data, that's your watts output and everything else on there. Now remember that I am going faster than I would naturally go here. As you can see by the speed at the bottom centre of your screen, that's 44. That's because this is set to Pro Power. What happens if you set to Pro Power, everybody else is brought up to the level of the top riders, which equalises out the race. For a group ride, that means we can sit together more easily and have a chat, and in a race it equalises it out, which pushes the top riders a little bit, so that's good for them, as long as they don't mind the fact that they might actually lose. But bar that, it's actually good for them because it gives them a workout, and for those of us who don't usually win races, it gives us a chance to compete because we can get up there with the big guys. This course, as you can see by the scenery, goes through a number of sort of farmsteads. I don't know where this is set, but obviously the USA, by the style of the buildings, etc. This is quite a pleasant course actually. We rather like this one. 20 kilometres long, so 2 of those would probably give you a Sunday or Saturday morning workout. We're just going to do one in this preview as we go past some of these little farms. And there's plenty more of these along the way. Some towns, tunnels and lots more along the way. This is, as I say, quite a scenic route. And you look up at the profile, which is in the top left again. I've marked it in pink for you. You can see there's a couple of lumps along the way. Neither are particularly strenuous or steep, but they will, I suppose, eat into the ride a little bit. Now I've put in the bottom, almost bottom sort of centre left, there's the word gradient. You can just see it coming in there showing 1%. When the gradient's 0 there's nothing there, but you can see here it's 1% upwards, so nothing too daunting, and it's vanished now, which means I'm back on 0 as we roll into them there hills, and there'll be more farmsteads, etc. Now catching up with some riders here, so my 40th out of 45th position in the top right hand corner should come down to something alongside 38, just getting inside that rider who is going across to take the inside line. If you have autopilot on, it will steer you around the bends in the most natural manner. Remember here though, we have got corner crashing set, so if you go fast around any corner, you are likely to crash. Too fast, you can see at the bottom on the speedometer as I go around this corner, there's a red, green and white sort of rim to the speedometer. If your speed, which is marked by the green, goes into the red zone, you will crash. It does allow you a split second in the red. I think you have to be sustained, and on tight corners our advice is brake before the corner, and rather than hit the red during the corner, and you can actually accelerate out. So braking before the corner is the order of the day. To brake, you either press the space bar on your laptop keyboard, or if you've got the phone app, there are 2 buttons on there, or you can actually calibrate the phone and just swivel it from side to side for a more natural steering experience. But there's a brake slider on the phone as well. If you want to steer, so if I wanted to go on the inside lane on this bend, for example, which will save me time, I can use the arrow keys, or as I just said, there are phone device you can do it with your phone as well. So we go past another rider, and our position now up to 37th out of 45, so making good progress. Past some of these nice little farms you can see there. 42 kph. As I say, this is Pro Power. I'd probably be a good 5 to 6 kph under that if it were raw power, which gives you your natural power. There are other settings as well. You can go down to arcade, where you won't crash at all, and there's plenty of options on Cade, and it takes a little bit of getting used to, because it is going into a new era of I think cycle racing and cycle games. It's I think it's possibly in terms of features out gamified Zwift in terms of the number of settings you can have, although it doesn't I think probably match Zwift for collecting points and apparatus and things like that at the moment. Whether there are big plans for more and more bikes, kits and sunglasses and sponsors and things like that in the future, we'll have to wait and see. But I think in terms of gamification, probably behind Zwift in terms of rewards as we go over this bridge, but potential features in the pipeline and features it's already got. This is a quantum leap for online cycling, so we wish Cade well, and we're very supportive of it, as you've probably told here at West London Cycling. We like the potential and we like what's there already, albeit that it's embryonic and it isn't the finished item just yet. So catching up with another rider, which is nice. It's always nice to have a little bit of prey in front of you to chase and catch as we go around this rider, and now in 36th position. So it made up nearly 10 places, around 10 places. More of these homesteads and these farms. Quite rocky scenery as well. The gradient's still 0 here. It's not a difficult course. You can see up in the profile in the top left hand corner, as I've said before, we've done we're on lap 1 with 1. We're only doing 1 lap here. We've done 5.1 kilometres, you'll see just under that, with 14.8 to go. So a quarter of the way around the course as we catch up with another rider. Profile above, you can see the yellow dot supports that we're about a quarter of the way through, but we haven't quite reached that big lump that we're going to get before the finish. Now I'm steering here a little bit to take the inside line. Again, you can use either your phone, you can swivel your phone to do that steering. It'll only take you across the road, you don't need to steer around bends per se. It'll steer you from side to side as opposed to round a corner. But of course you do use it on corners to get that inside track, which will save you time, although I'm being rather lazy about this at the moment and just taking the outside and head down and pushing. And I think this is probably a legacy of not being quite as used to steering as I might be in, say, a year's time, because with other platforms all you do is just get on the hamster wheel and turn the pedals as hard as you can. There's no steering, there's no real skills beyond sheer muscle, and I suppose a little bit of insight into drafting and things like that. But this is taking it to a new level now, because you've got steering on here, you've got braking on here, wind factor, we build in a couple of degrees wind, usually westerly, so at the points where you're heading west you will see a little bit of more difficulty as if you're going up a hill. It's not a lot, we never put strong winds in, at least not yet. And of course the crashing is the big thing. This course doesn't really lend itself to crashing. I think you should stay up most of the way, but it would be nice if you did crash, and I mean that from an experience point of view, because I think learning to do these corners is part of the fun on Cade. It's one of those things that's counterintuitive in the sense that you would rather not crash, but learning the crashing actually keeps you very sort of occupied and excited along the way and adds to the experience. So hopefully in the nicest possible way some of you will get to crash on Cade and start learning how to do the bends, because once you've acquired the skills, races will become so much more exciting. In fact, I could almost say the opposite, because some of the races we've had, the crashes have determined the outcomes, so it does add a bit of excitement to it, and as long as you don't get too upset at leading out and then crashing on the last bend and being overtaken, then that's it's good fun. Now, as we go into this barriered section, we're about to take another group on. Now, I need to be careful here because if I get stuck behind them, I won't be able to overtake them. So I'm going to the outside there to make sure I don't get stuck behind, and a little look round as I go past in this barriered section. As we say, a few cars parked there. I think there must be fishermen because none of those car drivers is cheering us on at the side of the road, so I suspect they're all there for some other activity. I'm guessing it might be fishing given the water that we're seeing on our left there, just beyond the wall, I believe. As I say, the scenery does change on this course, so it is one of the more interesting ones. This, again, still flat. You see there's no gradient there, not a difficult course, but we are heading up, and you can see the lead riders now are just going up that hill. So if you look at the top left where it says profile, the lead riders, those blue dots, are now up the hill. So we've got some way to go. And looking at the top right hand side, 30th out of 45, Vanessa Mern is 14 seconds ahead of me. So I've got to whittle that one down to get any more places. Morris just ahead on 18 seconds, as you can see. So a little way to go before I catch up with the others. You can see the water. I think that's a bit more than a lake, isn't it? That looks like the seaside. So probably fishermen out in boats, maybe. Now, as we head into a settlement, this is the town that we pass. We've done 8.1 kilometres, as you can see from the lap indicator, and we do get some people cheering us here. So these are probably people coming out of their houses to cheer on the Cade riders. You can see hands in the air, people jumping around, getting rather excited as I go past. A lighthouse is part of the scenery too, which, as I say, varies up the scenery as we head towards halfway in this on this lap. I say 2 laps at 40 kilometres of this would probably give you the equivalent of a sort of Sunday morning ride outside if you can't go out on a Sunday. And certainly one of the reasons for doing this is that at the time of recording it, there is prospect of ice on Sunday morning, so this could be our Sunday morning ride as a replacement. Now we're catching up with Vanessa here, just 1 second ahead. She goes onto the inside lane there, so we'll have to take the centre to get around her. And I should wave or something really there, shouldn't I? You can communicate if you look in the bottom left-hand corner. It's slightly hidden by the logos, but there's the word broadcast. And when you're online, if you select playlist and switch your speaker on, you can talk to everybody else. So going back to that concept of a Sunday morning ride with your club mates, you can all put the audio on and have a good chat as you might on any other Sunday morning ride out with your club mates. 9.1 kilometres gone. We're going to overtake another rider. This is Morris as he goes to the inside to take the best curve on that lane, so we're going to have to go down the centre to get round. If you're particularly fast, you'll automatically go round a rider. If you're only slightly faster than them, you will get wedged behind them unless you steer around them. So it is useful to use the steering just when overtaking. So we're 28th out of 45 now, making up some ground. This is pretty good news, and I suppose the aim might be to get under 20th, given that we started 2 minutes late. A little bit of a look back there, nobody behind us at the moment. Press B to look back. If you press C, you can get alternative views. With the B, as long as you hold it down, you will, this is the C views. So if you press C, you'll get different views coming up. The sideways one there. This one is the rider's view. I actually really like this one. It really gives you the sensation of speed and racing on the course. It doesn't always, I think, give you perspective in the sense of the overall race, and you can't see the other riders maybe just behind you or something like that. So I do, as much as I like it, it's sometimes a little bit better to have the one that we were generally on, not least because sometimes you can get a better view of the bends because it's slightly elevated, and certainly with the cornering on, you need a good view of the bends to work out just how much to brake as you go into them. Now we're going to catch up with another group here, and again I want a perspective of where they are, so I go back to the normal view as we go along this sea edge. Now this is going to be slightly difficult because they're likely to move across now to take that inside line, so whereas I had the inside line, I now need to go around them. Will I get through, just beat that guy and he gets knocked back because I'm in the way? If I'd been a split second behind, I would have got knocked back because he would have got in front of me. So quite a lot of tactical positioning can be played out with this steering, as we have seen in that little example. 10.6 kilometres gone, 10.7 now. So we're into the second half of the race, and we are about to crest, I think, or go up that hill. So I think we're about cresting it soon. 43 kph at the moment, 0 gradient because we are going along the seashore, but there's, as I say, plenty more to go. 9 kilometres left in this ride. And again, the scenery is sort of different. This wall and this seaside, seafront, if you like, dropping into the sea there momentarily. This won't last forever. We'll be back into countryside soon as we head inland. Still managing 43 kph without particularly putting any great effort in. I'm putting more effort than I might have otherwise done, mainly because this is all about the chase. 11 seconds up to the next rider. In fact, there's a whole batch of them about 10 seconds ahead, so it's another cluster of riders to overtake, and that should put the position 20th or below, we hope. So the catch working quite well. Still flat as we're by the seaside, and it's going to be sort of quite easy, I suppose, in this. There's some tunnels coming up shortly as well, so look out for those. It does change the perspective a little bit because it does get dark in those, as we'll see. As I say, quite an interesting course. And I think we just caught a glimpse of the riders ahead now, 7 seconds as we chase them down. Again, it's a little bit twisty, so we're going to have to get our riding line right. And you can see the little cluster of riders there, still 7 seconds ahead, not making any inroads, down to 6 now, so gradually sneaking up on them. And as I say, it depends how bendy it is when we hit them as to what we're going to have to do to get around them. And we're now on a descent, and I think this will bring us down to sea level. It's now back to 0%, but it's still sort of 45, 46, a good time, down to 5 seconds in the chase to this little group now, and the bend's not too tight, so I think a centre line should probably get us around them. It looks like about 4 riders to get round, I think, so at the centre of the track, maybe 5 riders actually, so maybe the centre of the track should be quite good to get around this little cluster. And looking at the profile, we're now just 1 second behind, and it's fairly straight, so if I just hold my line here, they're unlikely to swing out in front of me, and it should be a fairly easy overtake. In fact, more than 5. Oh no, they're all heading for. Oh no, this is going to be difficult. We've gone in the tunnel. I just squeezed through that gap before they blocked me off, so that was a little bit of luck. And of course the steering would have been slightly difficult there because the darkness of the tunnel completely changed the view. -1% as we go through this tunnel, so dipping a little bit, although we seem to come out quite high up. I'm a little bit confused by that, but that's what it is. It's still minus as we head downwards through this valley. Another tunnel coming up, as you can see here, and no riders to negotiate in this one as we go into the dark. The little gap's giving us that little bit of light just to see what's going on, and you can just about make out the rider avatar's profile. And I think that's unless you're riding in the dark in a shed at the end of the garden or something, going to be enough for you to see what's going on. But I think, like everything else, when you go out of a tunnel or into a tunnel, suddenly out of the sunshine, it's that adaptation of your view, you know, the change in the lights. And certainly at that point back there where we had the little group, all of a sudden I was trying to weave through a group that were going to cut across and take the inside line, and I needed to get through that. And as I say, I think it was more luck than judgment that I got through that little gap, but certainly I couldn't see clearly where I wanted to head because of the sudden change in the light and darkness. 6.2 kilometres to go, still at this 43 kph sort of speed, which is what I'm, as I say, there's a little bit of effort because I'm chasing, but I'm not absolutely flat out. And Pro Power is comfortably giving me this as we head up to the next rider, 4 seconds ahead, another rider 8 seconds ahead, so we can grab another couple of places here, 16th out of 45. So we've taken out the thick end of 30 riders in the chase, all at Pro Power. See the rider ahead there cutting across to take that inside line, so we'll sit in the centre to make sure we get round easily. You can see the other rider a few seconds ahead there, so that's 2 as we go to the inside line, despite what I just said. Still at 43 kph, this is fairly steady stuff, making up ground. The other rider going to the inside, I'm going across 2, maybe not. I think I was having a little bit of trouble with the steering at this point. The other rider cutting across, this is a nuisance. It's I've just got there ahead of him, so it hasn't inhibited me, and the other rider getting knocked back because I was in his way rather than the other way round. So again, I've had some good luck with the steerings and the clashes in this, as I've overtaken other riders. Down to 15th, and we've got Lewis Cade ahead of us. 3 seconds will be the next catch. Beyond that, Dan B at 24 seconds is going to take a while. We've got 5 kilometres left, so we're 3/4 of the way through the course. Still at 43 kph. It's been a very, very steady ride on my part. It's fairly flat, as you can see. We're towards the end of the race, and you can see from the profile up in the top left, it's reasonably flat. There's small inclines, but it's reasonably flat. So the next rider here, we're going to sit behind, we're going to steer around. Just as I went to go that side, went the other, so let's take care, go around the outside of the bend. It will cost me time. It doesn't make it, it's not as easy to overtake, in the sense that there's a bend going the other way now, but I'm blocking the other rider. You can see he tries to go in, but gets knocked back because I'm in the way. So again, I've got that about right. It's probably a little bit untidy in the run up to the overtake, but nevertheless did the job in the end. 4.5 kilometres to go, 14th out of 45th in this. Speed slightly down at 41, not quite sure why, as we admire another little farm. In fact, this farm's a little bit bigger than some of the others we've been past. A bit more of a settlement, really, isn't it? Quite a few buildings here. Not too many people around to cheer us on. Obviously working hard out in the fields or whatever else they're doing. As we come down to the last 4 kilometres of this, going through this little farm, or larger farm settlement, I should say, shouldn't I? This is agriculture industrial levels compared to some of the little homesteads we've been passing earlier. Down to the last 4 kilometres now, back up to that 43 speed. Again, gradient still flat, 14th, 17 seconds up to the next rider, and that's probably about as good as it's going to get, because it's 1 minute 44 to the rider after that, and with 3.8 kilometres to go, I can't see that being made up. 1 minute 40 looks a bit of a tall order for me at this point, but let's see if we can get Dan B at 12-13 seconds with 3.6 kilometres to go. So out into the hills again now. I can see some chimneys ahead, suggesting yet more settlements. 3.5 kilometres to go. We are catching up a little bit with the rider, 2 riders ahead, 1.37. This might be closer than you might think, but I still think 1 minute 37 over the next 3 kilometres is very, very unlikely. And we haven't even seen Dan B yet, 10 seconds ahead, which hopefully he should come into view very, very shortly, but not so far, not seeing him. Ignore the little blob that's come up at the top of the screen. What this was, Cade run things where you can have sort of several races lined up, and it flicks you from one race to the other. And basically, everybody in this race was doing 3 different courses, one after the other. And because I started 2 minutes late, I was late getting to the start line of the next one as well. But I finished off this route. That's telling me that I should really be flicking over to the start of race 2. But I ignored that and stayed on this course. Speed slightly dropping now. It's 41.42. It's under 43, which makes catching the rider 2 ahead even more difficult now. 1/3, not really making any inroads. Down to 2.5 kilometres to go, and Dan B still 8 seconds ahead. This is not we're not really making up the ground. And of course, it's natural. I mean, as you get down the field, the riders ahead of you, bearing in mind they all start at the same time, will be the faster riders, so they get harder and harder to catch as you go up the course. although we are down to 5 seconds for Dan B now. Nobody behind us as we press the B button just to have a look behind. And still no sight of Dan B, 3 seconds. Oh yes, there he is. We just got a call of him, sight of him around the bend there, and down to 2 seconds, so we should catch Dan B. Only 2.1 kilometres to go. Haven't made much of an inroad to the rider ahead of him, still 1 minute 32. We've only made up seconds there, so that's really not going to happen in 1.9 kilometres. So I'm playing around with steering a little bit here, so it looks a little bit jerky, but that's me messing around with the buttons. So we go to the outside line here, catching up with Dan B, who will be the last rider that we've got any chance of catching, I suggest. Apparently 0 seconds ahead. Things get a little bit interesting here because it's shown me as 5th out of 36 rather than 45. That's because riders ahead who finished have switched out of this course and into the next race of the little trilogy that we were doing in this. So I will probably get more warnings come up on the screen that I need to be flipping over to the second race, but I really wanted to finish this one off in the meantime. And I think some of the data on the right is not totally accurate, because what you're seeing is some people are electing to go to the second race without completing this one, so it completely distorts some of the data in the rankings, because some of the riders have left and some of them will not be moving because they're in that transition to the other ride. So essentially, although it says I'm 3rd out of 35, that's people still left on the course, of course. In actual fact, I can tell you that I finished 13th, which is what you'd expect, given that I've just gone from 14th and overtaken a rider. 900 metres left as we go through the wind farm. I will finish this course, as I say. Speed not really there at the moment. Get another one of these little messages saying you should be at the other race now. You need to switch over, to which I ignored and did the last 800 metres, just so that we can film this all the way to the end. I did start the next races late and consequently had the same issues, although very different sorts of courses. There's some quite Cade offers you some sort of fantasy courses and some realistic ones, and there's quite an array. It's quite spectacular, and as I say, conceptually some of the fantasy ones have got little obstacles and things like that in to make you use the steering and work on your crashing and things like that, which makes the whole thing very interesting. And I urge you to go and practice your crashing, so to speak. So just 300 metres to go, more wind turbines, or eolians as I like to call them, the French word, and I think that's because I learnt the word in France before we had many in the UK actually. Over this bridge then into the last 200 metres, 100 metres to go. You can see the finishing line arch there, and as soon as we get through that, it will show me as 1st out of 27 now, because all the riders ahead have switched to the other route. So I'll go along, I'll get a victory salute, but that's a little bit hollow because I was really 13th. Thanks for watching. Enjoy racing on Cade Sport.